Hi, my name is Tony, and today I'm going to show you how to make a mixed bean and vegetable stew from foodsharingvegan.com. We're going to be sauteing a lot of vegetables today, so I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of oil instead of the normal 1. Feel free to use vegetable broth if you don't use oil, or you can also use less oil, like 1 tablespoon instead. I'm using the Cobra Estate extra virgin olive oil. It is made actually really close to my house. It's maybe 30 minutes away in a town called Woodland. I live in Sacramento. And this is garlic flavor. You don't have to use garlic flavor. You can use any oil that you want, really. It could be plain, it could be a different neutral oil, and all of them will work great. And for this, I'm using 2 tablespoons. I love that they have this spout. This is my favorite. I'm not gonna lie, this recipe requires a lot of chopping, but there are some workarounds that you can do. You can use frozen diced onion. You can use the chopped frozen bell pepper. You can use frozen carrots. You can use frozen broccoli, which is what I'm doing today. And that'll save you a lot of time. You don't have to then worry about washing and chopping, and the rest of it comes together pretty quickly. It's just chopping those vegetables that does take the majority of the time. So we've got our 2 tablespoons in here. I have it going on medium-high heat. I'm gonna add in 1 diced onion. I'm using a yellow onion because that was cheap. That was what I had, but you can also use really any onion you have. You can use a red onion. I like the yellow though because it's cheap. Gonna swirl that around, and then I'm gonna add in 1 bell pepper. I usually use a green bell pepper, but I ordered my groceries from the Walmart Plus app, and they delivered an orange one. So I'm using orange today. You can use the red one, the green one. The green is often cheaper, which is why I choose it. But as I mentioned earlier, you can also use a bag of frozen bell peppers, maybe like 1 cup, maybe 1.5 cups if you really like bell peppers. This recipe is so versatile, make it your own. I'm adding this to the pot, along with 3 ribs of celery that have been sliced. 2 carrots that have been sliced. These were quartered because they were a little bit on the bigger side, but it's faster to slice them. I think it's funny I went slice them as though we were doing it lengthwise. You're gonna be taking it and going this way when you do it, just for clarification. This is 2 small zucchini. You can use the green zucchini. You can also use yellow zucchini or a different type of squash if you have it. This is 4 garlic cloves minced. You can also press it directly into the pot instead of mincing it, which would save on time. You can add in more if you want. You can use jarred garlic. If you're using jarred garlic, I would use maybe ½ tablespoon. And if you are using garlic powder or garlic granules instead of the garlic cloves, you can do 1½ teaspoons, 2 teaspoons if you love garlic. And now stir everything together so that it begins to saute. It smells really good. Strong bell pepper smell in my dish. Usually I would like to add in maybe like a red bell pepper so that it has more color. With the orange bell pepper and the orange carrots, the orange bell pepper is getting lost, but maybe you don't care. I usually don't care if I'm feeding just myself. It would only be if I were entertaining and wanted my dish to be pretty in addition to tasty. Saute these for about 5 minutes or until the vegetables are tender. So if you find them to be tender earlier or later, it's give or take. While they're still sauteing, I'm gonna add in 1/2 tablespoon of this chili powder. That was a generous pour, but we do like a little bit of spice, so it's good. I was just making a different video that is for black bean and quinoa sweet potato chili, and it had a lot of spice and I was sneezing all over the place. It was funny. It was something. Then I'm gonna add in 1/2 tablespoon of cumin. It's a little too much. Unlike baking, these measurements don't have to be precise. If I were not making this video, I would be loosey-goosey, pouring in my spices. But for the sake of a little bit of accuracy to the recipe for you, I am using measurements. Now we're doing 1 teaspoon of oregano. Fun fact about this oregano is that I grew it and dried it in the sun, and now we are enjoying it. And our plant is from our pandemic garden, which was my husband's addition, the oregano, and it's thrived. So if you are thinking about something that's really easy, that has low investment, I think it was maybe $3, and it's huge now, and we've been using it for years, that's a good place to start. It doesn't require too much sun, and you can put it in a pot, which is how ours is. If you live in an apartment, put it on your balcony or on your porch. It's a great, easy option. I'm adding in 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. If you don't do spice, you can skip this one because it will add a little bit of a kick if you're not used to spicy foods. Then add in a bay leaf. This is what a bay leaf looks like. I like to get them in a bag. They're a lot cheaper. I think I've shown you the bags that I've used before that are often in the Hispanic section of the grocery store. And I think the brand that I usually get is El Mexicano. Mix all the vegetables up. You want them to be coated in the spices that we just added. Now add in some broccoli. You're gonna do about a head if you're using fresh broccoli, or the equivalent of a head if you're using frozen florets. You can also use broccoli pieces. Those are often much cheaper at the grocery store, so I tend to go with that one. Now I'm gonna add in a whole can of diced tomatoes. That's the tomatoes in their juices. Pour that directly into the pot. Sometimes things require draining. This one does not. And now I'm doing a lot of beans. These beans are all easy to swap in and out. So if you don't have the types of beans that I'm putting in my soup, you can add in any 4 cans of beans that you have. I like the different textures, so that's why I made this recipe this way. But we've got chickpeas, drained and rinsed, also called garbanzo beans, cannellini beans, drained and rinsed, kidney beans. I'm using dark red kidney beans, but you can use any kidney beans that you have. And then lastly, black beans. If they have no salt versions at your store, I recommend using that. I like to control the salt that I take in. They didn't have any today when I was doing my grocery shopping. Same with corn. I'm using this corn. You can use fresh corn if you want to shave the kernels off of the cob. I'm using canned corn. You can also use frozen corn. And this is 1.5 cups of corn if you are using fresh corn or frozen corn. That has also been drained and rinsed. Now I'm gonna add in my vegetable broth. This is 3 cups of vegetable broth. And I am using this Better Than Bouillon no chicken broth, but any broth that you have works. You can use the no chicken, no beef, you can use vegetable broth, you can make a homemade stock, any kind that you have, the kind of the carton, bouillon cubes, all of them will work, but you're gonna want 3 cups. Then lastly, I'm gonna add in some pepper and stir everything up. Want it all to be mixed in nicely. It's really pretty, really colorful. It's one of those taste the rainbow recipes. We've got a lot in here. And there are opportunities to stir it later down the line. So once we put the lid on and start cooking it for 25 minutes, you can have an opportunity to stir midway through. The last thing that we're adding is this tomato paste. We're gonna do the whole can. I believe this is 6 ounces. This is 6 ounces, whole can of the tomato paste, and this is gonna thicken up our stew. It's gonna take it from a soup, like a brothy soup, to a thicker stew. And I like the consistency of the broth once it thickens a little bit. Gotta now get it off my spoon. Stir it all in. I need a spoon. This is not working for me. I really like those for sauteing, but right now I need to call in the big guns with this thick pot of stew. You can already see the broth changing. All right, it seems pretty mixed now, and I am going to put the lid on and let it simmer for about 25 minutes until the vegetables soften. And that part will depend on if you like your vegetables to have some texture, like a crunch still, or if you like them to be softer. I am team soft vegetables and my husband is team crunchy vegetables. Not really crunchy, but like has a bite. And that part is personal preference. So let's say 20 to 25 minutes, give it a check, taste a vegetable. And if you want to go in 2 to 4 minute increments after that to find your desired consistency, that should be doing the trick. It has been cooking now and it's looking really beautiful. You can see that the vegetables are still vibrant, which means that they still have a little bit of texture in them, and it still looks beautiful and colorful with a nice soupy base that's on the thicker side. It's not really runny like a thin soup, but it's not a chili. Somewhere in the middle is the stew. I'm gonna serve it up so I can show you how beautiful it is. And with this, you can garnish it with some fresh herbs. You can either do parsley or cilantro. Those are my go-tos, but you can also add on some fresh oregano or something totally different. This stew is very delicious. As you saw in the video, it's also really versatile. You can do so much with it, and you can swap in vegetables. You can remove them entirely and it won't make much of a difference. If you decide to give it a try, let me know how you switch things up. I'm always curious to know what other flavors I didn't think of. I have the full recipe in the caption. Thank you so much for watching today. I really appreciate it. Bye.